Why do I get the feeling that a lot of us have failed at managing our expectations when it comes to Paralives? I have to be honest, my excitement mellowed out sometime after the gameplay reveal, yet as the end of the year approaches, the realization that it's about to get really real and real fast kind of hit hard recently. I don't think I fully prepared myself yet, so excuse who I become when this game comes out. Anyway, despite my and the community's anticipation, I don't think people truly understand what Paralives is going to be like on its first release. I swear, the Paralives team have warned us every chance they get, but still that doesn't stop people from saying Paralives is going to end The Sims, or I'm jumping ship when Paralives comes out. Comments like these scare me because it'll be these same people that are disappointed when they find out what an early access indie game looks like. So what will Paralives be like? Well, with just a little research, you can quickly find out they've been extremely transparent of what to expect. Taking what we know about Paralives and our experience with indie games, I've been sitting on a couple of predictions that are starting to feel a little too real as we get closer to the finish line. I've mentioned this before when I did my last prediction video on Paralives, where I speculated the choice to have no paid DLC could do the game more good than harm. All points made in this video are just predictions and speculation. We won't know what the future of Paralives will be until we experience it. Everything can change and anything could happen. With that out of the way, let's start with something that needs to be said, but really it should be a given for obvious reasons. Paralives will not end The Sims. The Sims is huge, and The Sims 4 has become even more massive in recent years. Even if Paralives were to meet unrealistic expectations and then some, it will take The Sims to end The Sims. I'm looking at you, Project Renee, or whatever the next iteration they plan to release. What I think will actually happen is players will initially claim they've dropped The Sims 4 for Paralives, but will quietly or be a little too loud about the fact that they missed The Sims 4. The plans to have a strong foundation for Paralives will serve the game in the long run. The hype surrounding the game and its new features will carry it to the next updates, but expect a common and all too familiar pattern form. Phase 1. Early access or new content updates are announced, triggering lots of hype. Phase 2. Enter in the I'm addicted to Paralives phase. For good reason though. Listening to community feedback is a smart move. And then Phase 3. The hype starts to die down and players run back to The Sims 4 to cope while we wait on the next update. All that content we got over the past decade isn't all bad. I know for a fact that it's going to take a minute to get used to the differences between Paralives and The Sims 4 build mode. I still play with build mode to this day, as you can see. I can have way too much fun with this alone. Finally, rinse and repeat. This cycle won't last too long while Paralives starts to accumulate more content and quality of life improvements. After a couple of years, we will see the game transform into a viable option as a fully fleshed out life sim. Yet even then, when we have everything we asked for, The Sims 4 will still not go anywhere. There will always be a player base that prefers what they've been playing for the past 10 years. Life simulation is not the first to have multiple games exist in the same genre, and it's not even close to being the last. Paralives will succeed with no paid DLC. Paid expansions are not the only way to sell a product. If you need proof of this, look at any successful game outside of The Sims. DLC is almost always optional, and the main game is decent enough to stand on its own. If you aren't familiar with anything other than The Sims 4, the amount of people who only play the free-to-play base game with no DLC should be a pretty good indication. I made an entire video diving into this topic where I speculated the hype, strong community, and other monetization methods that could bring this game to where it deserves to be in success and recognition. The biggest deciding factor is how they choose to market the game. Wouldn't it be so cool to see free updates advertised the same way an expansion would? Number 7. No paid DLC is such a huge incentive. It will be less difficult for people to invest into a one-time payment experience and continue to get free updates to the game. Advertising this is big for competition, but especially to those who are accustomed to paying a little more than what they would like for a well-rounded experience. I think players have had enough enough with overspending for a full game or being promised one thing to only be let down by a dishonest change in the game's monetization. Knowing you only pay for the base game and you get that with years worth of content added will be an appealing incentive. Definitely recommend watching if you're still on the fence of how this huge risk could pay off in the best way. Cozy gamers are going to eat this up. Cozy gaming has a very strong community that reaches outside of life sims. What this genre of players looks for in a game is different than what someone who prefers character-focused life simulators expects to see. As we would love to see detailed gameplay and realistic themes, cozy gamers are attracted to a stress-free experience accompanied by beautiful visuals and a relaxing yet addicting soundtrack. If Paralives has one thing, it's insanely beautiful visuals plus an addicting soundtrack. If I were to compare these two genres, it would be life sims, cozy gamers, Paralives. They meet in the middle in a nice, cozy, fuzzy marriage. Paralives will be bare bones, but not boring. If you've been in the Paralives community for a while, then you're all too familiar with the constant stream of requests and suggestions. This is only natural as a lot of us wanted more from The Sims and feel Paralives could be that option to finally experience what we've been begging for a long time. There will be many quality of life improvements like curved walls, no grid, color wheels, lot editing, realistic skill building, dynamic personalities, in-game mod support, and so much more that will make this video way too long. Features like that have already been confirmed and showcased, so the game does look promising. But if you're expecting certain well-known features we often see come in additional content in The Sims to be ready in early access, that's exactly how you could, and many probably will, set themselves up for disappointment. The team has made it very clear their focus for Paralives is to have a strong foundation for the game, polishing the most basic of features first, to then focus on fun new updates during early access and after the official release. This means the main mechanics you'll get to play with in 2025 will be gameplay surrounding needs, skills, jobs, social interactions, and adding a good amount of gameplay to those features to keep them from feeling shallow. If I were to imagine playing Paralives, I'm guessing it would feel as if The Sims 2 and The Sims 4 base game had a baby but make it cute and wholesome. That is what we mean when we say keeping your expectations low, like base game low. Honestly, I wish I had this comparison months ago because I didn't truly understand that this was the vision for early access. I also think a surprising amount of players won't ever understand even after the initial release, so when you start to see the inevitable comments about Paralives being shallow or feeling empty, I can bet on everything they didn't really research the game and didn't come to terms that this indie life sim is not supposed to save you from The Sims 4. Paralives will experience its first controversy. There is no way to avoid this. People make mistakes, and big corporations and indie studios alike have made poor decisions for their games. Couple this with players creating problems from anything and everything, even irrelevant things, the wholesome indie developers will not be the ones to escape the hellscape that is Sims Twitter. This first controversy, and I do use that loosely because more often than not, it's never that serious, but when this first for Paralives does eventually pop off, it probably will be something like when players find out the hard way that mod support doesn't include script mods, a foundational feature we never thought about is missing, or maybe there actually might be something concerning about the game that's exposed. Really, anything could be the catalyst. I'm already expecting for there to be claims that Paralives will copy The Sims. I wouldn't put it past this community to make a big problem out of an old and dead conversation. It won't be the what of this controversy that concerns me. My focus will be glued to how the team responds to the backlash. If the conversation holds any weight, then I would expect for there to be an official statement addressing the issue to either let us know how they plan to fix it or explain why they came to the decision if the problem was for good reason. And don't stop at an official statement. I want to actually see those changes in the game if they were promised. I'm not putting up with whatever the Sims team is doing. Remember that team they put together? You know, like a standard quality assurance department that should have been there in the first place? Where are they? And why is your game still broken? Yes, Paralives is an indie studio, and yes, I've long since surpassed my quota to use that point on this channel. Still, if the team has the means to be able to develop Paralives, they should have the means to handle this when it eventually happens. If they handle the issue well, then all is forgiven. That's just me personally. The amount of grace that's given to The Sims 4, you could share a little with Paralives. It honestly couldn't hurt. Expect less frequent but bigger and better updates. Does anyone ever feel nervous when a new update or fix is planning to release for The Sims 4? Stressing over how many of our mods will break, what new bug will be added this time, and please, no more new content. Can't we just have a little more time to enjoy the game without going through this cycle every month? Given how small the team is compared to the Sims team and how much content and bug fixes the Sim pumps out in a year, I don't think this will be a major issue for Paralives. I imagine when it's time for new content, we'll be able to breathe just a little easier. I have a feeling content updates for the game will probably range from 1 to 2 a year. I could definitely see them working on multiple things to drop in one big update. Gives them more time to prioritize and focus on any bugs while developing new content. You may see a hotfix here and there if there is a game-breaking bug, but major patch days will finally regain the rarity yet eventful vibe they used to have. Patch days used to be events full of hype and excitement, knowing there was so much new content coming in, plus the plethora of quality of life improvements players have been requested. The free expansions will be even more of a hype train than patch days. Just take any Sims 2 expansion pack release, size down the hype to the community for Paralives, and that's the vibe we'll see that's long since been forgotten, but we could finally get back. Paralives will not have to compete with The Sims, at least not forever. This last one is so surprising yet so far from unexpected. EA has been trying to tell us this since they really started to talk about Project Renee. All the claims stating this is its own game and will not replace The Sims 4 makes sense. I expected Project Renee to be its own multiplayer spinoff, but not for them to fully cancel The Sims 5. I will never understand why they chose The Sims 4 to be the Forever Sims game. I mean, besides not wanting to let go of their cash cow and pleasing shareholders, wouldn't they want to have a little more respect for themselves by trying to make a game that can hold its weight for multiple decades? Whatever the thought process is behind that decision, it's not my problem. I've moved on to hoping for new experiences with other life sims, hence the direction of this channel. I immediately started to question how this will affect Paralives, Enzoy, and any other possible life sims that set themselves as direct competitors to The Sims 4. With EA switching genres, could this be beneficial for newer games? If you want to play a traditional life sim, The Sims is not going to be a viable option for long if they keep going down this broken path. Is the death of The Sims 5 making room for the next generation of character-focused life sims? I have so many thoughts on this, so much in fact. I'm gonna wait to talk about this in next week's video. Come back same time next week because I already have something ready and waiting. Unfortunately, I couldn't come up with 7, so that's why I couldn't title this video Top 10 Predictions for Paralives. Hopefully, whatever title I came up with is better than that. Anyway, 2025 is gonna be such a big year, not only for Paralives, but a lot of other things are coming next year that I've been waiting on for what feels like the better part of a decade. Do you think any of these predictions are possible? As I've addressed before, anything could happen and everything could change, so we won't know how this game will turn out. Still, it's part of the fun, so why not speculate? What do you think will happen to Paralives after early access? I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments and see you same time next week to talk about why I think Paralives will be just fine.